In front of everyone, Charlie was my father's sworn enemy. But when we were alone, he was the addiction that made me forget who I was. If anyone walked into that room, I'd be ruined. My father would throw me out without a second thought. But in that moment, nothing else mattered. Only his mouth, only the way he held me like I belonged to him. That's when I realized there was no turning back. And if you crave forbidden passions that burn until they hurt, hit subscribe because this is only the beginning.
Charly Mars stepped closer, his dark eyes burning with a hunger that made her stomach twist. "You want me too, Amy. Admit it," he whispered, his voice rough, almost dangerous. Her breath caught, trembling under the weight of desire she knew she shouldn't feel. His hands were relentless, brushing over her arms, gripping her waist, pulling her closer against the wall. Her mind screamed stop, but her body betrayed her, craving the heat of his touch. The world outside was a blur of power and politics, but here it was just him and her. Every nerve ending screamed as his lips hovered near hers, teasing, promising. Amy could feel the line between right and forbidden vanish with every heartbeat. "You don't fight it anymore, do you?" Charlie murmured, his fingers tracing patterns that ignited a fire in her veins. She shook, unable to answer, trapped by the pull between desire and guilt. The mansion's opulence felt suffocating, every portrait and chandelier a reminder of what she could lose. Her father, Dylan Roy, would never forgive this, never understand. But she couldn't look away from him, not now, not ever. Charlie pressed her fully against the wall, lips finally crashing onto hers in a kiss that stole her breath. The room spun, and Amy's knees weakened as his body pressed into hers with relentless passion. For a moment, all politics, all family, all rules ceased to exist. Every thought of loyalty dissolved in the heat of the forbidden. She whispered his name, trembling, as the danger of being caught made her pulse race even faster. A sudden knock at the door jolted her back, her heart hammering. Charlie's smirk never faltered as he pulled away just slightly, still holding her close. "Relax. It's just the guard checking in," he said, voice low and teasing. Amy's skin still burned from the kiss, her mind whirling with guilt and hunger. The line between temptation and ruin had never been thinner. She stepped back, trying to collect herself, but Charlie's gaze pinned her like prey. This isn't just desire, Amy," he said, voice dark, almost dangerous. "It's a war we can't afford to lose, but I don't care anymore." Amy stepped out of the bedroom, her heart still racing, the heat from Charlie's kiss lingering on her lips. The ballroom glittered with politicians, cameras flashing and laughter echoing, but she moved like a ghost, unseen and unnoticed. Dylan Roy, her father, was commanding the room, every gesture polished, every word calculated. Her stomach twisted with guilt, knowing how close she'd come to destroying everything in a single moment. Yet her thoughts kept drifting back to Charlie, to the fire he'd ignited inside her. She slipped into a quiet hallway, trying to calm the storm inside her. The mansion's ornate walls seemed to close in, every painting watching, every shadow whispering secrets. Her phone buzzed with a message from Charlie. "I can't stop thinking about you. Meet me." Her pulse doubled. She knew it was reckless, dangerous, and completely irresistible. The line between desire and disaster had never been thinner. Amy turned a corner and froze. Dylan was traveling across the state on his campaign, leaving Amy alone with the freedom she both feared and craved. Every evening, she found herself walking up the long driveway to Charlie's mansion, heart pounding with guilt and desire. The first dinner was set by candlelight, his piercing eyes never leaving hers. She knew she shouldn't be there, that every step deeper was a step toward ruin. Yet when he smiled that dangerous, irresistible smile, all her hesitation melted away. Charly reached for her hand across the table, brushing his thumb over her knuckles with a casual intimacy that made her shiver. She tried to focus on the conversation, on the wine, on anything besides the tension curling between them. But each stolen glance, each subtle brush of his hand against hers set her pulse on fire. She realized in that moment that resisting him wasn't just impossible, it was insane. Desire had claimed her before she even crossed the threshold. Without warning, Charly stood and drew her closer, lips hovering near her ear. "You came here for a reason, Amy," he murmured, voice low and intoxicating. She trembled, knowing exactly what he meant. Her will crumbled under the heat of his gaze. Before she could think, he lifted her onto the dining table, his lips claiming hers in a kiss that left her breathless, lost to the forbidden pleasure. The room blurred around her as Charly's hands moved over her, tracing every curve with possession and fire. Amy's mind screamed, "Stop!" but her body was already betraying her. She had never felt desire this raw, this consuming. Every heartbeat was a drum of danger, passion, and complete surrender. That night, the mansion became their world, a secret sanctuary from judgment and consequence. After the meal, they slipped upstairs, shadows swallowing them as they entered his bedroom. Nothing outside mattered. The city, her father, politics, it all faded. Charly kissed her again, slow and deliberate, leaving a trail of fire across her skin. Every touch, every whisper, every gasp echoed between them, building a night of passion neither would forget. Amy surrendered completely, losing herself to a love that should have been forbidden. By the time morning light crept through the curtains, Amy lay tangled with Charly, a mixture of guilt and exhilaration twisting inside her. She knew this could never be spoken of, yet the memory of every stolen second would haunt her, thrill her, and consume her for days to come. The mansion was silent around them, hiding the chaos of their desires. And deep down, she realized with a shiver, this was only the beginning. After that first night, Amy couldn't stop thinking about Charly, even as guilt gnawed at her. Dylan was still away, his campaign pulling him across the state, leaving her alone in a world that suddenly felt thrilling and dangerous. Every evening, she found herself slipping into Charly's mansion, drawn by a magnetic pull she couldn't explain. Candlelight dinners became their secret ritual, each one more intoxicating than the last. She knew it was wrong, but her body craved what her mind screamed to resist. Charly watched her with a hunger that never dimmed, making her heart race and her thoughts scatter. "You think about me, don't you?" he teased one night, fingers brushing hers under the table. She tried to hide it, shaking her head, but the flush on her cheeks betrayed her. Every glance across the candlelit table was a silent confession, every brush of skin a spark. Amy realized she was already addicted, completely unable to resist. Their dinners became longer, more intimate, filled with whispered conversations and touches that lingered just a second too long. She could feel the danger surrounding every encounter, the invisible thread that could unravel at any moment. But each time he leaned closer, whispered her name, she let herself sink deeper into desire. Charly's hands and lips were everywhere she wanted them, even when she told herself it was wrong. The mansion's walls seemed to close around them, a private world outside of rules. One evening, as rain pelted the windows, Charly pulled her into his study, locking the door behind them. "Do you even care about the consequences?" he asked, voice low, almost teasing. She shivered, unable to speak, because deep down, she knew she didn't. Every touch, every stolen kiss had already crossed the line. And yet, with him, every risk felt worth it, every boundary meaningless. Desire had consumed them both, leaving nothing but fire in its wake. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside, lightning casting shadows across Charly's face as he held her close. "We shouldn't be doing this, but I can't stop," he admitted, lips brushing her hair. Her heart hammered in response, matching every beat of his confession. She knew that being caught would destroy everything, yet the danger only made her crave him more. Every stolen moment was a gamble, but neither of them wanted to fold. As she left that night drenched in rain and longing, she knew she was falling deeper than ever. The mansion grew silent behind her, hiding their secret rendezvous from the world. But the memory of Charlie's touch burned hotter than the storm outside. She couldn't deny it any longer. She was trapped in a fire she couldn't escape, and with a shiver, she whispered to herself, "The worst is yet to come." Dylan's campaign finally brought him back to the mansion, and Amy's chest tightened with every step he took through the front door. The house felt smaller, the walls closing in with the weight of secrets she could no longer ignore. Charlie's gaze met hers across the room, dark and teasing, warning her silently to stay calm. Every movement, every word Dylan spoke was a reminder of the line she had already crossed. Amy's pulse raced. She knew it was only a matter of time before everything unraveled. That evening, Charlie invited her for a quiet dinner, just the two of them in his private dining room. Candlelight flickered across his sharp features, igniting a fire she couldn't control. Her hands shook as he reached for her, brushing her fingers with deliberate intent. She wanted to say no, to run back to safety, but her body betrayed her every instinct. Desire had become stronger than caution, stronger than fear, stronger than logic itself. Midway through the meal, a loud knock at the door made her jump, her heart hammering in her chest. Charlie's smirk never wavered as he whispered, "Relax, it's just the staff. Stay calm." Amy's knees weakened under the table, sweat prickling her skin, knowing it could have been anyone. Every stolen glance toward the hallway made her stomach twist with panic. The risk of being caught only made the desire between them more unbearable. Later, in the quiet of Charlie's study, he pulled her into his arms, pressing her against the polished desk. "You can't fight it anymore," he murmured, lips brushing her ear, igniting shivers down her spine. Amy trembled, caught between the danger and the pull of forbidden love. Every second spent with him was a gamble she knew she could never win. Yet she leaned closer, letting herself be consumed by a fire she couldn't control. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the hallway, sharp and suspicious. "Dylan." Amy froze, her blood running cold as Charlie's hand tightened over hers, hiding her from view. Every heartbeat thundered in her ears, the threat of discovery looming over them like a storm. The room felt smaller, suffocating, yet charged with unspoken tension and forbidden desire. Amy realized the fragile veil of secrecy could shatter at any moment. By the time Dylan passed the doorway without noticing them, Amy's knees nearly gave way. She leaned against Charlie, breathless, heart hammering with guilt and hunger. The danger had never felt so real, the thrill so intoxicating. She knew the next encounter could ruin everything or ignite something deeper and uncontrollable. And as Charlie whispered against her lips, "This is only the beginning," she knew she was lost forever. Amy couldn't stop thinking about Charlie even as she tried to keep appearances with Dylan. Every glance, every casual touch from her father felt heavier now, laced with suspicion she couldn't ignore. Meanwhile, Charlie waited for her at the mansion each night, his eyes dark with hunger and amusement. Amy knew it was reckless, dangerous, yet the pull was irresistible. Each secret meeting felt like stepping closer to the edge of a cliff, thrilling and terrifying at the same time. Their dinners became more daring, more intimate, a delicate dance of desire and secrecy. Charlie's fingers would linger on her hand, his voice a low whisper only she could hear. Her pulse raced as she imagined the scandal if anyone ever found out. The risk made every stolen touch hotter, every kiss more intoxicating. She was trapped in a storm of fire and guilt, craving what she shouldn't have. One evening, while Charlie led her upstairs to the study, the hallway felt longer, every creak of the floorboards echoing in her ears. "We can't be caught," he murmured, pressing her against the wall. Amy's heart pounded knowing how close they were to disaster. But when his lips claimed hers, all logic disappeared. She surrendered to the desire that had taken over every thought. As she separated briefly, a shadow moved at the end of the hall. Amy froze, breath catching in her throat, Charly tensing beside her. Dylan's voice drifted from the living room, sharp and probing. Her stomach dropped as she realized how easily this could all come crashing down. Every heartbeat was a countdown, every step outside the study a gamble with their forbidden passion. Later, in the privacy of Charly's bedroom, Amy let herself fall completely into his arms. Every touch, every whisper, every sigh was a stolen rebellion against the life she was supposed to lead. Yet even in this sanctuary, guilt clawed at her chest, reminding her of the consequences. Desire had won, but danger was never far behind. Every second together was a thrill, shadowed by the threat of discovery. By the time morning light filtered through the curtains, Amy knew their secret was more dangerous than ever. Dylan's suspicions were growing, and every careless move could reveal the truth. But the thought of Charly, of their stolen nights, was a fire she couldn't extinguish. She shivered, knowing deep down, we're playing with fire, and one day it will burn everything to ashes.
Dylan's sharp eyes no longer missed the subtle signs. Amy's flushed cheeks, the way she lingered on phone calls, the stolen glances she thought were hidden. Each observation tightened a knot in his chest, suspicion growing like a storm on the horizon. Amy felt it too, a cold dread mingled with desire whenever he entered a room. She tried to act normal, laugh at jokes, hide her racing heart, but every move Dylan made reminded her that the walls around her secret were crumbling. Charly noticed Dylan's unease and smirked, a dangerous glint in his eyes. "He's getting close," he murmured, pressing a finger to Amy's lips. Her stomach twisted, a mix of excitement and fear she couldn't untangle. Every dinner, every private touch became a gamble, and she knew one wrong step could destroy everything. Yet the pull between them was irresistible, a fire that only grew stronger under threat. One evening, while Dylan stepped out for a late meeting, Charly led Amy into the study, closing the door quietly. "Every second with you is a risk," he whispered, eyes dark with hunger. Amy shivered, feeling the thrill of danger and desire collide. His hands roamed over her body, each touch igniting flames she couldn't resist. Even with Dylan's suspicions growing, the forbidden passion was impossible to fight. The next morning, Dylan's questions became sharper, his tone heavier with unspoken doubt. "Where were you last night?" he asked casually, though his eyes burned with scrutiny. Amy's throat grew dry, panic clawing at her as she struggled to craft a believable answer. Charly's memory of her words, her glances, haunted her with every heartbeat. She realized just how close they were to being exposed, and fear sharpened the edge of desire. That night, Charly pulled her into the mansion library, walls lined with books and secrets. "We can't stop now," he said, pressing her against the shelves, lips claiming hers with abandon. Amy trembled, knowing she was playing a dangerous game. Every kiss was a rebellion, every touch a confession she couldn't voice. The mansion, the campaign, her father's scrutiny, all faded under the weight of their forbidden connection. By the end of the night, Amy lay in Charly's arms, heart pounding, body alive with stolen fire. Dylan's suspicions were a storm gathering outside their sanctuary, and she knew it wouldn't be long before it crashed down. The mansion, once a safe haven, now felt like a cage built from secrets and desire, and as Charly whispered, "Soon we'll see who controls this game," Amy shivered, with a mix of dread and longing. Dylan's patience finally snapped, and his voice cut through the quiet of the mansion. "Amy, we need to talk," he said, eyes sharp, searching her face for answers she wasn't ready to give. Amy's heart raced, every instinct screaming that danger was close. Charly stood nearby, calm but alert, the tension between them palpable. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown to disaster. In the library, Dylan's questions became accusations, each word a blade.
I know something's going on. Don't lie to me, he demanded, jaw tight, voice low and dangerous. Amy felt her throat tighten, guilt clawing at her chest. Charly stepped forward, a silent warning in his dark gaze, daring Dylan to cross the line. The air between the three was electric, each second stretching into eternity. Amy tried to speak, but her words faltered, betraying her fear and desire. Dylan's eyes narrowed, scanning every gesture, every glance, every tremor in her hands. Charly's hand brushed hers under the table, a silent act of defiance. The mansion seemed to shrink around them, suffocating, trapping them in a dangerous web of secrets. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum, counting down the moment of truth. Suddenly, Dylan lunged forward, grabbing Amy's wrist, his suspicion exploding into action. Charly stepped in, pulling her behind him, tension crackling like lightning. Amy's pulse pounded as she realized how close they were to losing control. Every glance, every touch was now a risk that could destroy everything. And in that moment, the mansion became a battlefield of desire and betrayal. Charly's voice was low, commanding, as he confronted Dylan without hesitation. "Stay back. This doesn't concern you," he warned, eyes blazing, body tense. Amy trembled between the two men, caught in the fire of passion and danger. Dylan's hand hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his face. Every second stretched, the threat of exposure so real it made her stomach twist. By the end of the confrontation, Dylan stormed out, leaving Amy trembling and Charly holding her close. The danger hadn't passed. It had only intensified, making every stolen moment more desperate. Amy realized that desire and danger were now inseparable, a line she could never cross back over. And as Charly whispered against her ear, "They'll never understand us, but I'll never let you go," she shivered with longing and fear. Dylan had begun noticing patterns he couldn't ignore. Secret calls, hurried messages, and Amy's lingering glances at Charly. Every clue tightened the noose around their secret. Amy sensed it too, a cold dread that mixed with the fire of desire whenever Charly touched her. Every private dinner, every stolen kiss now felt like a countdown. The mansion, once a sanctuary, had become a trap of suspense and longing. Charly took her hand during a late-night encounter, pressing it to his chest. "They're getting closer," he murmured, voice low, eyes dark with urgency. Amy's stomach twisted, caught between fear and want. Every heartbeat was a warning. Every glance from Dylan was a threat. Desire had won, but the stakes had never been higher. That evening, while Dylan reviewed campaign plans, Amy found herself drawn to Charly's study. Their eyes met, sparks igniting instantly. Charly pulled her close, lips claiming hers with urgent need. Amy trembled against him, every touch both a rebellion and a confession. The secret was intoxicating, but danger lurked in every shadow of the mansion. Suddenly, a knock at the door froze them in place. Dylan's voice called out casually, masking suspicion, but Amy knew better. Their hearts raced. The risk of exposure had turned the air electric. Charly's hand slid to hers, grounding her, a silent promise of protection. Every second now was a test, every breath a gamble. By the end of the night, Amy lay awake in her room, the memory of Charly's hands, his lips, and his whispered words burning in her mind. Dylan's suspicions were sharp and growing, a storm about to break. The danger of being discovered hovered over every stolen moment. Desire had won, but the consequences loomed closer than ever. As dawn crept into the mansion, Amy whispered to herself, "One misstep, and everything we've stolen could be destroyed, but I can't stop wanting him." The secret was no longer safe, the stakes higher, and the passion hotter than ever. And deep down, she knew the final confrontation was inevitable.
The tension in the mansion had reached a breaking point. Dylan's eyes were sharper than ever. Every glance a silent accusation, every word laced with suspicion. Amy felt her chest tighten, fear and desire warring within her. Charly stood by her side,
calm but fierce, a shield against the storm. Every heartbeat echoed with the knowledge that the secret could no longer stay hidden. That evening, in the grand hall, Dylan confronted them. "I know everything," he said, voice low, deadly calm. Amy froze, her mind racing, her body trembling. Charly stepped forward, hand on hers, his presence a defiant challenge. The air crackled with danger and unspoken words, the room charged with emotion. Each second felt like a heartbeat away from disaster. Amy's lips quivered as she tried to speak, but words failed her. Dylan's jaw tightened, his gaze unwavering, and for a moment the room felt suffocating. Charly leaned closer, whispering in her ear, "I won't let him destroy us." Amy shivered, torn between the love she couldn't deny and the consequences she feared. The mansion seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the storm to hit. Then, unexpectedly, Dylan's expression softened. Confusion flickered in his eyes as he realized the depth of their bond. You can't just fight what's inside you," he murmured, almost to himself. Charly's eyes remained on him, fierce but measured, holding Amy close. In that suspended moment, the tension hung like a blade, ready to snap, yet strangely suspended. Amy's heart raced as the realization hit. The confrontation was over, but nothing would ever be the same. Desire, love, danger, they had all collided in one explosive night. Charly pressed a gentle kiss to her temple, whispering, "We survived, but the fire never dies." Amy closed her eyes, letting the rush of emotions wash over her, a mix of relief, longing, and fear. By dawn, the mansion held a fragile calm. Secrets remained, but some understanding had emerged. Amy had learned the devastating sweetness of forbidden love, the intoxicating blend of danger and passion. And as she looked at Charly, she whispered, "No matter what comes, I won't let go." The final chapter ended with a lesson seared into her soul. Love can destroy, but it can also ignite the fiercest fire inside.